Dr. Magna, and we're back with our series on keys to optimal mental health. I hope you've been looking at the previous videos in this series, and hopefully they've been informative for you. And we're going to do another video on this particular one is going to be on self-control as we continue with that third key to optimal mental health. The previous two keys that I mentioned was being able to learn to have a proper or healthy lifestyle, and the second one was understanding how our thoughts affect us. And this third one is self-control, understanding self-control. And the two previous videos I did was also on self-control, and this last one I wanted to take some time to talk about self-control in children. Now, this is not in the book that I mentioned to you that I have on keys to optimal mental health, a book that you can get if you go to my website or if you go through Amazon. This particular information is not in that book, but I just felt impressed to share because I'm looking at more and more families and their children, and I know being a parent is not easy. I'm not a parent, but I have worked with young people as a psychologist, and I think that being able to teach our children self-control is so important. In fact, Dr. Roy Baumeister, who I mentioned earlier, somewhere I read he says something about teaching self-control being even more important than self-esteem, which many of us have been on that bandwagon for a while, and we're finding out that it's not all cropped up to be what we thought it would be. But there are actually two predictors for success in life, and one is intelligence, the other one is self-control. And if we can start with our children from a young age to teach them self-control, we'll find that we will help them towards being more successful in life. And there's a book that I've read called Child Guidance, and in that book the author talks about self-control, and I wanted to just share some things that she has in this particular book. One thing she says is that mothers should be teaching their children self-control from infancy. That sounds a little interesting, doesn't it? But children at a young age, they understand what is spoken in reference to themselves, and they know to what extent they are being indulged, she says. So from a young age, mothers should be teaching their children to control themselves, and one of the ways mothers can do that is not by not always giving children what they want. Children may cry for things, but if mothers learn to regulate how much they give into their wishes, this will be the beginning part of teaching children self-control. And she says here, do not gratify selfish wishes, because when we gratify the wish, we're teaching the children that anything they want they can have, which is just the opposite of self-control. She also says here, give nothing for which children cry. When children are crying, unless there's a need, crying should not be used as a key or a tool, or I would say manipulative tool by children to be able to get what they want from parents. And I see so many parents giving in to the cries of children, and they don't realize that they're preventing them from developing that self-control. And then she also tells the parents, don't waver on or be indecisive. When you tell your children no, if you know it's something that's not good for them, be firm on that, and that actually will help them with self-control. Now, this one is very vital. It says an example of self-control by parents is vital. Sometimes parents will realize that their children don't have self-control, and part of that has been because they've not modeled it well themselves. You've heard of the psychologist, or you may not have heard of him, Albert Bandura. He was one of the first psychologists to help us understand the concept of imitation and modeling. And what his research has shown us is that a lot of things that that children learn are from parents or others modeling it to them. And if we want our children to be able to learn self-control, we must model it ourselves, meaning that we can't allow our anger to lead us to punish them in the wrong way or respond to them in the wrong way. We ourselves should also display that that self-control when we're dealing with frustrating situations, when we're dealing with our appetite. All of these things our children are watching, and from this they can learn self-control. And never lose control of yourselves, she says. And it's a continual work, but I wanted to just share these things from her. And I also ran across something on a website that talks about 7 ways to teach your children self-control. And some of the things they mention is to teach your children to come when they are called, teaching children to respond. Children learn that self-control means that we must give up what we would like to be doing in order to do something else. So when you call them, they should come. Teach them to respond positively to correction. these people say, and encourage children to take on activities which build self-discipline or self-control, like cleaning their room or caring for a neighbor's pet or doing some other things, using bedtime to teach self-discipline or self-control, telling them that they need to go to a certain bed at a certain time and setting up a bedtime and a routine, helping, giving your children chores is something else that's mentioned, having family schedule, morning routines. These are just some things that I ran across on this particular website for teaching children self-control, but these are not exhaustive. If you really want to teach your child self-control, there's a lot of information out there, and I encourage you to look for it so you can deal and have children who are very well controlled, not only if you're a parent, but if you're a teacher. So I hope this has been helpful for you, this whole last 3 videos on self-control for yourself and for your children. Thank you for listening. This is Dr. Magna, and if you'd like to get in touch with me, again, my website is www.beingoodhealth.com. Thank you for listening, and please continue as we talk about keys to optimal mental health. Thank you.